I got a great question from a viewer, and it was a question about health savings accounts. And thank you for sending me that question, because I had been intending to do videos on health savings account for some time. Health savings account is one of the most overlooked and underrated accounts that you can use in terms of building wealth and preparing for retirement. So how do I see health savings account as a financial advisor? Stay with me and I'll explain it to you. So a health savings account is an account that you as an individual or as a family can open up if you have a high deductible health plan. And there are certain definitions of what is the criteria for a high deductible health plan, and I'm not going to go into that. But many Americans have high deductible health plans instead of standard health plans because our employers offer high deductible options or only offer high deductible options. So if you have a high deductible health plan that qualifies for an HSA, you can open a health savings account. And as an individual in 2024, you can put up to $4,150, or as a family, you can put $8,300 into your account each year. Now, there is a provision that at age 55, you can contribute an extra $1,000 each and every year, but you have to be 55 or over to be able to make that contribution. So now what happens to that money when you contribute it to the HSA account? A, you get a tax deduction for making an HSA contribution. B, all the growth on that money when you take it out is tax-free if it is used for qualified health expenses. So people often open up these accounts, put in a certain amount of money every year, and use it throughout the year for healthcare and medical expenses. And I've had an HSA plan probably for the past decade. And when I initially got the HSA plan, that's exactly what I was doing. Maybe there was some money left over at the end of the year that could roll over. A lot of people confuse the HSA with the FSA. So a lot of my clients initially thought that they had to use the entirety of their HSA by December 31st of the year, and they were surprised to know that they could roll it over. Then after becoming a financial advisor and doing the CFP and other training, I realized that the HSA is one of the most powerful tools in creating wealth. Think about it this way. If you start contributing to an HSA, and let's just say you're an individual to make this easy, at age 40, and you contribute each and every year until you are age 65, and you take nothing out of your HSA account to pay for medical expenses between the ages of 40 and the ages of 65, depending on how that money and if that money is invested, you can have anywhere from $250,000 to $350,000 by time you are age 65. Now, one caveat that I would give is that healthcare is going up exponentially. Its rate of inflation outstrips the standard rate of inflation. So even with $350,000 in the bank 25 years from now, that may be worth what $100,000 is today in healthcare land. Still, it's a pretty substantial bundle of money that you can use at age 65. And at age 65, you can actually use the HSA as a retirement account, meaning you won't be taxed on the initial contribution, but you'll be taxed on the growth. That gets a little bit tricky because you have to be able to clock the initial contributions versus what is growth, so that the government doesn't basically overtax you on distributions from your HSA account. But when I have a client who has an HSA account at age 65 with quite a large balance, we typically don't use it for that. It could be used for Medicare premiums, it could be used for medical expenses in retirement, and it can also be used for some long-term care expenses. If you pass away, it can also be given to a beneficiary. So the HSA is quite powerful because you get a tax deduction for putting the money in, and all the growth on the money is tax-free. It is the only account in the potential retirement universe that you get a tax deduction for putting it in, and you possibly could draw on the assets tax-free. Even the Roth, you don't get a tax benefit for putting it in, but all the growth is tax-free. Or a traditional account, traditional IRA, you get a tax deduction for putting the money in, but all the money that is grown, the growth on the money is taxed. Doesn't really compare to the HSA. And one thing I would say to fix the HSA account is I really wish the government would allow us to put more money into the HSA account, because 4150 for an individual each year is often not sufficient to cover medical expenses, because medical expenses are so out of control. I myself has an HSA account, and I'm a relatively healthy woman, but I often exceed 4150 every year for health expenses. You can also deduct your medical expenses on your taxes if your medical expenses are in excess of 7.5% of your AGI. Here's the problem. It's a hard number to hit. Few people have medical expenses unless you have some major medical issue that are in excess of 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. And it seems like each and every year I'm just under the threshold of 7.5% of my adjusted gross income for medical expenses, so I'm not able to deduct it. So one thing that you should know in putting money in an HSA account is that you have to do some legwork. If your company has a high deductible health plan, an HSA usually isn't automatically set up. They'll give you the information of the company that your organization is using for the HSA, and you have to do a bit of legwork to open the account and get it set up. Also, you may have to keep a certain amount of money in your HSA as cash. Anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 is typically the amount, but it's a rule to keep that much as cash to be able to basically cover your deductible. Anything in excess of that $1,000 to $2,000 can be invested, but you actually have to do the legwork to go into the account and select the investments that are appropriate for you, or that money will sit in the money market as cash and you really don't want it to do that. One thing that I have seen people do with HSA accounts that have made a lot of sense, if they have quite a large balance in their HSA account in their 60s, let's say they're retiring at 63 and Medicare doesn't kick in until age 65. So they have about 2 years of medical deductibles that they need to cover until they reach Medicare age. Oftentimes they can use money in their HSA account as that bridge to pay the deductibles until they reach age 65. So a really well-funded HSA in some circumstances can help people retire early without the concerns surrounding, oh my goodness, how am I going to cover my medical expenses? I'm not eligible for Medicare for the next 2 to 3 years. So HSAs, I absolutely love them. I really wish that Americans could contribute consistently more money to their HSA accounts. And the government does raise the limit on the amount we can contribute on the HSA year by year. But ideally, I would love to see the HSA limit for an individual at like $10,000, $12,000 a year. And I would do everything I could to max it out because I see the benefit of the HSA for retirement. There's also a benefit for people who have gaps in their employment. It's lovely to think somebody could work 25 years solid, but the reality of working life nowadays is it rarely happens that way. Sometimes there's breaks, sometimes there's gaps. And during that time, you may need to cover medical expenses or COBRA. Well, your HSA may do that. And sometimes I tell clients just to save the HSA for a rainy day, because 25 years from now, like I said, the $350,000 may be worth $100,000 in today's money. If they're going through a period of unemployment or underemployment and they have medical expenses or healthcare premiums that they need to cover, it may be okay to kind of crack open that HSA piggy bank and just use the money in the HSA to tide them over until they get to their next job. And hopefully they'll have a high deductible health plan and can just replenish the money in the HSA. So retirement is one thing. It can also be used as a stopgap to help you get over a difficult period of unemployment or underemployment when you still need to cover your medical premiums or still need to cover medical expenses. So there you have it. The HSA, why I love it, why I think it could be used as a tool for retirement, but why it can also be used as a wealth management or wealth building tool. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you like. If you found this information useful, please like, please share, and please subscribe. Thank you.